You're working on reading. If I conclude something, what am I doing? I conclude. It means you are making a definitive answer, making a definitive answer or decision. I conclude that Narnia is a different world than England. Paraphrase. I have paraphrased a lot during this book. Mrs. Reed will say, what does muffler mean? Or what does certain words that we don't say? Peter went in and rapped his knuckles on it to make sure that it was solid. A jolly good hoax, Lou. Do those words make sense to us? So when I paraphrase, I am saying, oh, if Peter rapped on, he is just checking it, he is doing this. He's rapping on it to see if it's solid, pounding on it. And a jolly good hoax. What does hoax mean? To paraphrase?
It's kind of like a fake.
Like a what?
A fake.
Not a fake. What is a hoax? If I paraphrase, I would say it is a what, Owen? Not a lie. Not really a lie. A lie is a little more dark than a hoax. Grayson.
A joke?
Yes. A jolly good hoax, Lou. I mean, you're joking around about this wardrobe. So to paraphrase, you are rewording a word to make sense. When you make a conclusion, you are making a decision about something. Like I conclude that Narnia is a different world. We don't know a lot about it right now, but would you agree with that conclusion that Narnia is a different world? Mm-hmm. Yes. So to conclude, you are making a decision. To paraphrase, you are rewording. So if somebody said, please paraphrase the word hoax, what would you say? M. A joke. If you paraphrase the word baddie, remember Edmund said she's batty. Lou is batty, and he went like this, pointed to his head. How would you paraphrase baddie, Tessa?
Like, her mind is going crazy.
She what?
Her mind is going crazy.
She's going crazy. Something's wrong. Have you ever said to somebody, you're crazy?
Yeah, about.
Yeah. So same thing as baddie. So paraphrase. Let's pick another word from, because there's so many. I have them underlined in my book. Trickling. How would you paraphrase this sentence? For the fawn's brown eyes had filled with tears, and then the tears began trickling down its cheeks. How would you paraphrase that? Christian.
Like crying.
Crying. What would trickling mean? How would you paraphrase trickling? Is it fast or is it slow? Toby.
Slow.
Yes. A trickling is a slow movement. So as it was trickling down his cheek, it was slow. The tear was slowly. So he wasn't crying really heavily, but he was just a trickling of tears. So paraphrasing trickling would be a slow movement down. So I'm just trying to see if there's any other. There's so many. Woolen muffler. He had a red woolen muffler around his neck. How would you paraphrase that? How would you paraphrase red woolen muffler? Helen. Yes, a red scarf. Not a muffler on our car. That would not be very comfortable to wear around our neck. All right, so I will be doing a lot of paraphrasing throughout The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because not only are we dealing with a different world, we're dealing with a different culture, language. I mean, the English, they speak English, they just have a different dialect. They say things a little differently than we do. So I will be paraphrasing. Get it? All right. That also is going to be helpful for your test. I'm also going to be looking up other things that we might need to hone on before the test. All right, let us open our journals to setting. Where is my setting? What is a setting? What is a setting? You can look on your blue sheet and it does tell you. What does it say a setting is? Jeff?
Where the place is happening.
Yes. Now, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is an interesting study on setting. Why? Why is it different than any other book that we have read so far? We haven't delved into it really heavily yet, but we can discern that there is something different about the setting in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Winsheen? Yes, ma'am. Not just different places, but what? Different what? Very different what? Cole? Yes. So the setting in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, even though we are early on, and we will revisit setting when we read a little more, but it's kind of fun to visit it now. We have learned that how do we what's the transportation between the huge house, the manor that they are living in, versus Narnia? How do you get to Narnia? Do you just open a door and walk in, push a button? What is it? Or ride a plane? I would like a ticket to Narnia, please. James? Yes, a wardrobe. Paraphrase a wardrobe. What does it mean? What is a wardrobe? We've talked about this. It's something that we don't have commonly in America. But what is a wardrobe, Luke?
It's like something that you keep clothes in.
Yeah, a huge piece of furniture that has doors, and you hang your clothes in it. Now, is the wardrobe in our story a big wardrobe, or is it a small wardrobe? Jonathan? Yes. Because remember, when Lucy first went into the wardrobe, she went through several layers of coats. Remember, she walked, and then she went through another, and then she finally got to Narnia. So, we do know that we are dealing with two very different worlds. Who remembers what is going on in the world during the story? A very large, huge world event. Grant. Which war? Emmy. World War II. So that's also very important, integral part of the setting. Remember, the children are shipped to the countryside because why? Why were the children taken from London in the city center and taken out into the countryside? What was happening? Olivia.
They had to be sent away because World War II was happening, and they didn't want their kids to get hurt.
Yes, but what in particular was happening in London that they had to send the children away? What was happening? There was something very specific happening. Ella.
There was some. In World War II, there was something that they were dropping from the air.
You're getting really close. James.
The Germans were bombing London.
The Blitzkrieg, it was called. Where the Germans were bombing London every day, often multiple times a day. So it was extremely scary. The people in London would have to go into bunkers, and they would come out, and things were just absolutely in shambles. So not a safe place if you were a child, or an adult for that matter. But at least as an adult, you can figure out what to do, or as a child, they didn't know what to do. So that was very scary. So they sent them out into the countryside for safekeeping, so they would be safe. So that is what's going on in the setting of our book. It's very important for you to understand that. It was a very harrowing, scary time for people in London. Yes, Helen?
Why were they bombing them?
This is a war. War is not pretty. The Germans were trying to destroy London. World War II was a huge event. Was the United States involved? World War II, yes.
Having social studies in
Yes. Well, it's because it's part of the setting. You have to understand why the four children are the daughters of Eve and sons of Adam. Paraphrase that, please. What am I saying? The sons of Adam and the daughters of Eve. Jeremiah.
If it's the son of Adam, it's a man. Then if it's a daughter of Eve, it's a woman.
Perfect. That is correct. A very interesting way of saying male or female. So, that is so we have this setting going on. The children are taken to the countryside to a huge manor that they have never been to stay with the professor they have never met before. How do you think that would feel? Ella? Yeah. Away from their parents. And so then, now, a new setting is introduced, and that's Narnia. Now, does Narnia have some issues as well? We have World War II going on in England, in the world, and then Narnia, we're kind of getting a feeling that something's not all great and hunky-dory in Narnia either. Who is in Narnia that's causing problems? McKenna? The White Witch. Dun, dun, dun. So, both settings have some issues. And our children, who remembers the name? Edmund, Lucy, Tessa, Peter and Susan are kind of thrust, as we're going to find out, in the middle of it all, in between two very diverse, different settings. And as we read, we're going to find out more and more about these settings. Why does it happen? We can conclude that later, make a conclusion, make a decision, define it. All right, so we have talked about place, specific place, someone's house, inside or outside, city or town, time, specified day or time, month, season, time and history. What would you put in time? Time and history, what is happening? I just talked about what is happening in history at this time. What is going on in the world? Owen,
World War II.
yes, please sit up. World War II. The setting is important because it helps readers to visualize the scenes of a story. The setting may affect the character's actions or choices. Yes. When you think of Narnia, what do you think of? What visual do you think of when you think of Narnia? There's something very specific about Narnia. It is always this and never that. Grayson.
Always snowing and never Christmas.
It's always winter and never Christmas. So what does that make you think? What is going on outside? Is it nice green grass with flowers blooming? What's happening? Snow. So that is an interesting setting. So what I want you to do with the knowledge that you have, and you may take some creative license and guess, make an estimate or guess, predict something about the story. But the story takes place where? That you could talk about either one. I would describe the setting as the story is important, or the setting is important to the story because if this story took place in another setting, well, it wouldn't be Narnia, would it? So pick a sentence frame, or if you would like to do one on your own, please write on your page the date, which is April 15th. And you can shorten it, if you don't want to write the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, you can write Narnia. That is shorter than the whole title. I'll write it up here. I'll write it Narnia. It's on the front cover of your book. Yes, Cole. Yes.
Yes, it is.
All right. Thumbs up if you are done. All right, I'll give you a little more time to write, and then we will move on to reading. Did you? All right, we will read now, so I will turn this